friend. So they're always having conversations and they're doing.
Can you look at the camera?
So you put the scissors down and you pick up some other random tidbit on your desk.
It's still glue.
I don't have anything to pick up.
Welcome back to the Dr. Z show.
I mean, I have.
How is everyone's quarantine?
Well, in a few years, there'll be a quarant adult. I can kick them out of the house.
That's the kind of episode it's gonna be, huh? That's the kind of episode it's gonna be.
That's the kind of episode we're having right now. On another note, though,
It's a manic episode.
I thought of this. So,
There's a cat in your background, by the way.
yes, my parents own a cat. So, if someone lives in Pennsylvania and you are friends with them, whether or not you write to them, they are your pen pal.
Yes. And now Anthony gets a throat.
Yeah. Now the question is whether or not they were your second to last friend that you have made, because then they would be your penultimate friend.
Ah, nice.
Oh, no. If you play Ultimate Frisbee with them.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Things that you accomplish. The other question is, do throat punches to Anthony, is it like a -1 on a scale and it just removes a throat punch from my count? Or does he still deserve one? Like,
I feel like that's up to you two, right?
Or is it like a scale?
Well, see, here's the thing. I feel like if it removes from your count, you're still going to have irreparably damaged esophagus.
Well, yeah. Also, what constitutes a punch? Like, how is it the act of knuckle? Like,
So you know, like One Punch Man?
Oh no.
Yeah, like that.
Very, very bad.
So, we've all been stuck in our houses for a considerable amount of time, and we're going to be here for a considerably longer amount of time. Except that the only person who is in their house right now is Jacob.
Correct.
Interesting.
Claire is not at her apartment, and I am not at my apartment.
That's what I believe we call in the business irony.
Irony.
Yeah, okay. It sounded like she said Irene, and I was like, who the fuck is Irene?
Irony.
Come on, Irene. Oh.
No.
That's Brenna's like northeastern accent coming out when she tries to say the word irony.
Irony? I don't think so.
It came out the first time in the O. You pronounce the
irony?
O too fast. So it just sounds like you're saying irony.
Have you just considered that I speak quickly?
Quickly.
Speaking of things that are quick, Jacob realized that the Sonic movie is actually not good.
Okay, that's not what he said.
But that's what the ultimate overall
on a first
picture is.
On a first watch, it's enjoyable. It is not a movie that you could rewatch and enjoy.
I feel like if you were to rewatch and enjoy it, you'd have to do it with some kind of game.
Okay,
you know
so
you have to eat Olive Garden while you're watching it.
Yeah, of course.
But see, Brenna, your opinion about movies means less to me because we willingly went to someone's house to watch The Room.
Yeah, and it's a great movie that I've seen multiple times.
Also, you willingly watched Cats.
Yeah. I did go. I spent money.
You're not helping your case.
Opening weekend to see Cats. Quite intoxicated. Boy, was it a good time.
On my list of bad decisions that are in movie form, I did watch the Battleship movie.
That's a very specific list to have.
And,
Oh man, paying to see Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
in theaters.
Yeah.
I
that
guess-
one's bad.
But we all did that, right? I mean, like, who hasn't?
No.
It's like,
No.
wait, no, a bunch of you people haven't seen the third one.
I mean, I've seen it, but I didn't see it in theaters.
I can
the
understand not
only
seeing the fourth one because, like,
the only one I've seen in theaters is the one where Javier Bardem says "Yag Sparrow" the whole time. I don't remember which one that is. Is that the fourth
No,
one?
that's the fifth one. That's the
Whatever.
most recent one.
Yag
Four.
Sparrow.
Okay, so I
Sparrow.
have 2 to add to Jacob's list because I was present for both of them.
oh no, oh that one, yeah, that one. Oh gosh.
The B movie.
Wait, you saw
We
that in
went-
theaters?
We went
Yeah,
to
we saw it
see
in
the B
theaters.
movie. Just us.
Yeah, it was just
Oh my god.
We went to see the B movie in theaters.
Sake, you can't-
I
and
do
we
own the B
also-
movie on DVD.
how could you?
Were
How
we
could you
in-
have known though? It was like Jerry Seinfeld's in it. Like he's a like. How could it go wrong?
It's about a bee seducing a woman.
You don't know that from the trailers.
You kind of know that from the trailer, Jacob. You kind of know that.
Okay,
You know
anyway.
that they're going to be friends, but you do not know that he is going. That there's going to be anything.
Anyway, B sex aside, the other movie that we willingly went to see in theaters was Inception. Now, hear me out. Inception is a great movie. Unfortunately, Jacob got the time that the movie started wrong. Fortunately, we were there before the movie started. Unfortunately, it was opening weekend. Fortunately, there were still seats available. Unfortunately, they were in the front row.
I don't recall any of this.
So,
Fortunately, we got to watch the movie. Unfortunately, we had to watch the movie like this.
so that's how I watched The Lorax in theaters.
You watched the Lorax, though. in
Opening
theater.
weekend in theaters. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it.
That's how I
did.
watched.
I didn't enjoy the Onceler fandom that came out of it.
Okay, so Jacob, I have a question about this, and
I
this
still
is
think we should
absolutely
talk-
not something that we should. This is absolutely not something that we should talk about on the podcast. But I have to ask you before I forget. Were we on a date? Not us. Again, I'm not going to make that mistake again. Were we on a date with the other 2 girls that we were meeting at the Inception movie?
I have no idea.
Was that a double? Who were
Uh,
they?
It depends on. No. I think it might have been my friend Alex. I know coming out of. I don't know
Because
if
I had never met them before. You knew who they were, and you told me about them.
had to have been
And
my
I had
friend.
never met them before, and I never saw them again. But you were like, I think it's a date. Maybe it's a double date. And I was like, what do you mean you think? What do you mean maybe? You were very unsure, but you knew that they would be there.
What, you've never been on a date that you didn't realize was a date until halfway through when
Two
Well, I
guys.
have, but who were they? Like,
think
what
it
was
It
the?
was my friend Alex, and I don't remember who the other girl was. But shoot, who would have that been? All I know is that Alex came out of Inception like with her mind broken and like with the twist at the end, and we had to constantly ask her like, "Are you going to be okay? Like, can you drive home?"
Yeah, no, I do remember that.
She was just like
I remember that
a
part.
solid 15 minutes after the movie ended.
Yeah, because we stood in the
Frozen
lobby.
after.
We stood in the lobby until they kicked us out. They were like, "You have to leave now," because it was like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is Inception is 2.5 hours long, and we did not know that before we went to make plans to see the movie. At like
you look
11
up
o'clock.
the time before you go.
This was like a long time ago, like before the
I
internet.
might have.
existed, So
I think probably what happened is because
No.
I looked up I didn't have a smartphone, and so I looked up movie times in the newspaper, and so I probably just read like the wrong theater.
Yeah.
Um,
The good old days.
yeah. But other two movies on my like I make bad decisions with film is that I did willingly purchase the Super Mario Brothers movie live action. It was $5 at Winco.
So you have a physical copy.
I have a physical copy.
You can hold the Super
Yes.
Mario Brothers movie between your two hands.
Yes. I watched it. And then me and my dad went and
You
saw,
know that the movie is not good, right?
yes,
You are aware of this.
yes.
That's
but
why he only paid $5 for it.
I wanted to know.
That was $4.50 too much.
Wow, you're giving it 50 cents. Wow.
It's an okay movie, but it's not an okay Mario movie. Like, it's not a good adaptation of the
What
game.
kind of movie is it then?
It's a weird sci-fi movie. It's kind of like a weird.
Can we talk about
good
whatever was it supposed to be Bowser? What were the Koopa Troopas? They were supposed to be the Koopa Troopas?
Yeah,
the Koopas.
they were Goombas.
Oh, whatever.
Something
They
really
look like weird. It looks like weird Master of Disguise turtle nonsense, and I'm not about it.
They're basically just like giant. They're supposed to be kind of like giant, like.
They're
Nazi
horrifying.
But with tiny reptile heads.
They're horrifying.
Like, some of them have snakes. Some of them, it's like snakes, turtles, lizard, dinosaur, tiny heads.
Horrifying.
But John Leguizamo's in it.
That doesn't make it better. That's
He
That's
doesn't
like
save
saying-
the movie.
Luigi is like the best part of that movie. Like,
like
admittedly,
saying
the
Steve
rapport between the
Buscemi.
brothers is interesting.
It's like saying
and
Steve
for some
Buscemi
reason,
saves Spy Kids.
it's Princess Daisy instead of Peach.
We've spent entirely too long talking about
Wait,
this
anyways,
Super Mario
The,
Brothers
fi-
movie.
the final thing, though, is me and my dad saw Snow White and the Huntsman.
I remember this.
We got front row.
I remember
What?
you texted me after the movie, and you're like, "What have I done?"
It was so bad because it was just like one bad film, and like our heads just craned back the whole time.
That's how I felt when my dad and I went to see The Bourne Ultimatum in theaters. He left like 10 minutes in because he couldn't because the chase camera is really prominent in the Bourne movies,
Okay.
and so he just like couldn't take it, and he like stood out in the lobby on his BlackBerry the entire film.
Oh wow.
And I stayed in the theater. I was like, I'm fine. I'm gonna watch it.
I for some reason saw. Oh God, which one was it? It's the Die Hard movie, the last Die Hard movie that came out, where his son's in it.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah, where they're in Chernobyl.
But then there's like a part where they're in Chicago or somewhere.
Dude, it's
Timothy
wild.
Oliphant is the villain in this movie.
Timothy Oliphant
Jacob and I
is
have
the
talked
villain.
about this. Jacob and I have talked about this movie on the podcast before.
Because it's a bad movie.
And I recalled that Timothy Oliphant, who plays Agent 47 in Hitman, was in that movie. He was the villain.
Okay.
The movie's so bad. That's all.
I like Live Free and Die Hard, but that's the
That's the third one?
fourth, I think.
I thought
Pretty sure.
the fourth one was Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Do you know what we should actually talk about, though?
Not the
The
Die Hard
sub-
movies. Jacob's
the
gonna look
subject-
it up. No, hold on. No, hold on. We can't reveal our plan.
The subject
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Get wrecked. Fourth installment.
Then which one was Die Hard with a Vengeance? Was it the second one?
It's like this. No,
Or was it the third?
let's look at the whole Die Hard
Or
franchise.
is that not even like a title? And I'm just like
No, Die Hard with a
Hard-
Vengeance
title.
is one of them.
It's three.
It's the third
No,
one.
I think the last
Die
one is A
Die
Good Day to
Hard-
Die Hard.
Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, and A Good Day to Die Hard is the 2013.
That's the garbage one.
So there's 5.
Yeah, there are too many.
Okay.
Not quite as too many as the Fast and Furious movies, but there are still too many.
There's going to be 10, and the 10th one is going to be 2 parts.
And it's not 10 movies, it's
The
11
first-
now, isn't it?
The first movie in the 2-part film should be Too Fast, and the second one should be Too Furious.
You're naming things even more.
Why don't we just move on from terrible action movies?
The
to-
part about the thing about splitting movies up like this is what they did with The Hobbit. Why was The Hobbit 3 movies?
It could have been 2.
Also, they
Money.
added a bunch of unnecessary characters. Well, yes, because of money. But they added a bunch of characters that didn't exist. And
They're not real.
And Jacob, shut the fuck up. And the last Hobbit movie, I think it's the Battle of Five Armies, the third
Non-canonical
one,
is
right?
the word that won't set me off.
The last movie is like takes place over like 15 pages of the book.
Well, yeah, because he's knocked
Do you
out
know
for
how
most of it.
long The Hobbit is?
Yeah, it's too long. Yes.
You could have taken a large chunk from the book and made that movie. But instead you were like, these 15 pages are pretty good. And you made a whole
That's because they wanted to redo Helm's Deep. They wanted another Helm's Deep. But here's the problem.
But Helm's Deep was in the second movie.
Yeah. I don't even remember what happens in the third movie. I've got to be honest. In the third Hobbit movie, I have no idea what happens. Or the third Lord of the Rings movie, I have no idea what happens.
In Return of the King?
Yeah, I have no idea what happens.
The battle is at Osgiliath, and most of the Battle of Osgiliath takes place in the Two Towers. They escape Osgiliath in Return of the King. What's it's the city in the cliff. I can never remember what it's called.
I don't know how to tell you this more nicely, but I just don't care.
Yeah, I
I
forget.
just don't
that.
care.
But the Ghost Army.
Minister.
I just
Oh
do not
yeah,
care.
you're right, Minister.
It was Abby. It wasn't me.
Abby, you're right, Minister.
That's all
But the Ghost Army. That's the best part of that movie.
I just don't care. I really don't. Like I don't care about Lord of the Rings. I don't care about Star
Wow.
Wars. They're just not. And maybe it's because I came to them too late. You know what I mean? Like,
After the hype train.
yeah.
You
Like,
got
I've-
you got on
the
the
train had left the station.
where like all of the food
No, like the
taken up by all the other people on the cars before you, and all
yeah.
that's left,
Every
ate half a tuna sandwich.
no, it's like when you're on
Jacob,
the last.
Jacob, this analogy sucks.
So
No, it's
does
like
it's because it's the last car of the hype train, of course.
what I'm thinking more is, have you ever been to like a Nats game, and then when you're getting on the metro, you end up like kind of in the last set of trains to go back like into Virginia from a Nats game, and there's so much popcorn and like gum and weird Nats paraphernalia on the ground, and you don't want to be there anymore because it's all
This is
kind of
very
gross.
specific.
Yeah, because this has happened to me
Very
multiple times.
specific.
Yeah. Alienating the audience.
The worst. It's the worst place to be.
Yeah.
That was very specific.
But like, you know what I mean?
I do, and that's why I'm like more concerned.
It's because it's a universal experience for anyone who's been to an Nats game and taken the metro.
Or to any baseball game and taken a metro.
Right, I guess
Train
you could apply
afterwards.
this to New York. You could apply this to
Japan.
Boston, Chicago,
I guess, yeah.
Atlanta. There are other
Atlanta has-
baseball teams.
Well, no, but I'm thinking specifically at the metro stop. That's really where I'm like it's the feel of the metro station. I'm going off of his
Trains.
Of
train
um,
metaphor.
I like trains.
What is it?
I like
Armory. It's like Armory Waterfront or something.
Yeah.
Or no, now it's Armory Stadium is what it's called.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, do we want to actually talk about what we were going to talk about today?
Nah,
Now that
fuck
we're
it.
20
We'll
minutes
just,
into the episode.
we'll just go off.
Stop.
So we're not supported by whatever the fuck that is behind Brenna, or Stardew Valley, which is behind Jacob, or exercise equipment, which is behind me, or by Dos Equis, which I'm drinking very obviously on camera.
Or by cats.
Or my cats.
Just like Cats in general, or like Cats the movie, or Cats the musical, or
Yes.
Okay. Huh.
okay.
Yes.
Sorry, no, I got a text that campus is shutting down entirely, and I work on campus, so looks like I'll have to offer voiceover work on Fiverr now.
This is sort of related to what we're talking about.
In a way? Yeah,
All right,
you know
we're
what?
back.
So
We'll call
welcome
it-
to the
call
Apocalypse
the
episode
transition.
of the Dr. Z Show, where you are invited to the apocalypse that you have to be at because it's happening on Earth.
Yay.
Get wrecked. So, media to consume when you have infinite time, assuming you are smart enough to survive the apocalypse. If you're not smart enough to survive the apocalypse, please disregard everything after this moment.
Great. Now that they've
Okay,
left.
now that only the smart people are left, let us continue.
And
So
if
do
you're
we wanna
wondering if you're smart enough, then
You might want to leave. You might.
No, this is the time when you just needlessly flatter everyone who watches your show.
All right, so
That would be
Brenna.
a first.
well, thanks for being smart.
So,
You're smart.
do we want to start?
Jacob, stop. If I have to tell you to stop interrupting somebody, you've interrupted someone too many times.
I mean, look, Jacob is obviously the heartthrob of the show who has to keep everyone on their side. Right?
Yeah, well, because we know no one who watches this show is on my side. I
Well,
don't
you
even
keep
have
wanting-
a side. It's like a corner.
You keep threatening to throat punch people, so.
People
Tell them
need to
what you
stop
deserve.
deserving to be throat punched. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
A corner requires at least two sides.
Jacob, shut the fuck up. Jacob, I will punch you in the throat.
Do we want to start with apocalypse themed media or strictly the media that we wish to consume?
Well, we have a list of questions here. So
We do.
we should read from the list. So the first question is,
But Brenna's
What
not allowed to read from the list because it will inherently taint it. And you're welcome for the interruption. I'll shut up.
the first question on the list is, what makes good quarantine media? Is it escapism, realism, anotherism, or long things that you've been putting off?
For me, I feel like it's
Leave a pause for the dick jokes to be made. Okay. Now continue. Thank you.
For me, I feel like it's a combination of all three. I feel like you gotta, you know, enjoy the flavors of life, right? Sometimes you wake up and you just think, man, this sucks. I'm gonna go watch a bunch of zombie movies. And then sometimes you wake up and you're like, man, today's a great day. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna watch the entirety of this TV show that I've been meaning to watch forever. You know,
What entire TV show can you watch in one day?
Freaks
like
and
series.
Geeks.
Not TV show, but series.
Freaks and Geeks.
It's fair.
I have done it. That's how I know.
Clerks, the animated series.
Mhm.
True. That is
You
true.
could, I feel like if you tried hard enough, you could probably watch all of Rick and Morty. What? They're like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
There's like 3 seasons, 22 minutes.
And the rest of
Oh,
it,
yeah.
so.
At
You
a
like it?
reasonable
Called
pace.
Cowboy Bebop. In,
Yeah,
uh,
we
9 hours.
watch all of Cowboy Bebop.
Bebop, totally.
Firefly.
Firefly, definitely.
And the movie. You could even watch the movie too.
You can throw Serenity in there, call it a day.
You can Sherlock.
I feel like it's so long now that you might not be able to.
No, it's 3 hours roughly for each season. Maybe
No, they're like an hour and a half each.
maybe 4.5.
It's like 4.5 hours for each season. Yeah.
That's 4 seasons though, so it's
But you could still watch it all in
18
one day.
hours.
A day is 24 hours.
Well, I thought there was a 5th season. Am I
No.
insane?
Or, and the season is garbage.
I don't think I watched the last season. I'm
What was
pretty
that
sure.
voice? You've never used that
Yeah.
voice. You've never used that voice on the show before.
It was his like Mad Hatter voice.
That's the voice I'm gonna use for my voiceover work on Fine.
You garbage.
I mean, I can't deal with that. That would be.
So here's the thing. So you'll use that voice. I'll use my gnome voice.
Oh no, we can't. No, I refuse.
It'll be great.
What?
Is it anything like your like weird little kid voice? Because that one's scary.
It's similar. It's similar.
What is?
Are you...
I'm hesitating to ask this question, but I need to know. What is your gnome voice?
It's the voice I do when I need to sound like a
No,
gnome.
I know what it means. What does it sound like?
Let me. I have to. I'm so sorry. I have to warm up. You know. Hi guys. Hello.
Oh God, it's that voice. Okay.
that
No,
It's this
I've
voice.
heard that
It's very
voice before.
similar. So it's a little bit similar.
That's the same voice. That's the same voice you use when you try to sound like my sister.
Is it? I don't think it is.
It is. That's where I've heard it before.
That's not at all my intention. That's not. I swear.
But is
that's
it
not-
wrong?
No.
Anyway. Moving
that's-
on.
The little
So-
kid voice is a little more nasally. That's really the difference.
So I disagree with you because you can't really escape if you're experiencing realism. Because realism is like trying to emulate something that you
But
like
My
that is tangible, that is real in your life.
my point was more that you're not trying to escape sometimes. Sometimes you just want to like feel your feelings of suck. Do you never wake up and just think, man, I like this like stress and anger and like sadness that I'm feeling, I want to feel that in its like holistic nature, and then I'm just gonna like move on?
Like listening to Linkin Park. Like you ever
Like
in that mood?
listening to Linkin Park.
Always not Jacob.
I'm not always. In that mood.
I've become so numb.
Like,
All right. No, I understand. Now I understand where you're coming from.
Thank
So the issue with the realism with like a pandemic event is that
Jacob, we said we weren't going to use the word. We said we're not using this word. And by
Remember-
we, I mean me. I said we weren't going to use that word. The first word you used, pandemic.
It's a great game.
it was the
Jake-
very first word I said. You know, like when I was learning to speak.
Pandemic.
Dada? Pandemic.
Jacob's an oracle.
He's going to say his first words. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Okay, so with realism, I'm actually going to include like zombie movies, even though they're not like realistic, because it's portraying events that are like adjacent to what people are going through right
It's
now,
that feeling of doom and threat
and isolation.
and isolation. Yeah,
So
I think
28
it checks
days
all the-
later, I think 28
Yeah.
days later is perfect. The very beginning of 28 days later, where he wakes up in the hospital and just like wanders out, and he's like,
Yeah. So Contagion's a really good movie.
Mhm.
I don't know if you like want to watch that during the quarantine,
Well,
but
a lot of people have because it was a very, very popular movie on Netflix.
yeah,
it's
it's a really good it's a really good representation of just how disease spreads and
yeah.
As I continue to touch my
and reactions to the P word that we won't say.
Right. And
Yeah.
and
Is it penis?
definitely. And on that same thrill, a kind of a lesser known movie that I want to
It has nothing to do with genitalia, okay?
officially.
Get that out of here right now.
A movie that I think everyone should go watch that's kind of in the same vein as Contagion is Pontypool. It's a lesser known film. It didn't have a really good release. However, I believe it's still on Netflix. I know I watched it on Netflix several years ago. And Pontypool, it's this weird Canadian horror film, and it's basically a
What's it
zombie
about?
apocalypse. It's basically a zombie apocalypse. It's about a kind of a morning disc jockey who is doing his show and then hears about all this weird, these weird things happening in Pontypool, Canada, and then we kind of find out that it's an epidemic of some kind, and it's them trying to survive this epidemic that they don't know they can. So I highly recommend it.
Do they all die at the end?
Do you really want to know the answer?
Yes.
Yes.
See, I sincerely believe that movies where all of the main characters die, or some of them make it to the end of the movie and then die, unless it is related heavily to the theme of the movie, that inherently makes it worse. So continuing on the zombie movie thing, the Dawn of the Dead remake with Ving Rhames. There are other actors in the movie, but it is the Dawn of the Dead remake with Ving Rhames. That's what it is.
That's the full title.
Yes. So all of the main characters get picked off, as they do in a horror movie. And then during the end credits, they're filming themselves escape, the main characters that are still alive, film themselves escaping on this boat to this island, but then it turns out that there are zombies on the island, that it is assumed, since they do not make it back to the boat, that they are all killed. But then they made more movies that they were only related tangentially to the first movie in that they had zombies in them.
See, but here's the difference with Pontypool, right? With Pontypool, it's the nature of the disease. And I don't want to spoil it, but
you could look it up on Wikipedia. The Wikipedia,
you can literally, the Wikipedia spoils
on Google
it for
actually. The Google little 5-sentence blurb
Completely
spoils
spoils
the
the
entire movie.
And it's incredibly frustrating for me as someone who watched that film and got to feel that moment. It'd be it's like watching, I don't know. It's like watching Star Wars knowing ahead of time that Darth Vader is Luke's dad.
Okay, hold on, because Star Wars. So Vader is literally German for father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere had to put 2 and 2 together before The Empire Strikes Back got almost to the end of the movie.
So what you're saying is everyone who spoke German should have been like, guys, this is my prediction.
I mean, you know what? I bet people wouldn't have believed them in the same way that no one believed me that they were going to try and push Kylo and Rey together in a love interest.
Reylo.
Reylo.
For it, so.
But
No
it
one
wasn't
believes
Kylo Ren. This is the defense that I've heard, that it was not Kylo Ren, it was Ben Skywalker. That's the whole defense. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Bah. Who cares?
He's too sweaty for anyone to love.
What?
He's too sweaty for anyone's love.
It's all sweaty and weird looking.
Okay. No, I can get behind that
Oh God.
as long as I'm downwind or upwind. I can get behind that.
So, are there any other kind of pieces of media that have that, that apocalyptic feel in this way? Because
Any
Well,
other than World of Warcraft, any MMORPG after 6 months.
I don't know. The blood, the curse of blood thing from World of Warcraft is a literal virus.
That's
happening.
interesting. No, that's an interesting point. You're right. Jacob, do you know the story?
I know zero about World of Warcraft after I realized it 18 months.
It's an incredibly interesting kind of.
I'm gonna super Mickey Mouse it for everyone because otherwise I would get really into it and it would take up the entire rest of the show.
Yeah.
But so basically, what happened was, I actually don't know how it started. Somebody glitch something?
So they did an update, and in the
Oh,
update,
it was part of the update. Okay.
it was part of the update, and in the update there was a new boss introduced, and this boss, when you were fighting it, would curse you, and it would kind of. The idea was that it was like letting your blood, and that you would lose health, but it could be cured. That's like if it was cured by like a healer of some kind, you could cure it or at least stave it off.
No, you couldn't. You had to cure it by defeating the boss. There was like a room or an item or something.
Oh,
so
it
had to do with staying in the boss arena or in the raid. It was a new raid that was introduced, and so this boss would curse you with this affliction, and you would slowly lose your health until you died. It would kill you. So someone it was able to leave the raid. Pets. It was the pets.
It was the companions, yeah.
Yes. So it could curse your companion pet as well, or your companions.
I think there were also people like healers who had just left the raid because they didn't care about the loot. I think that happened a few times with some people, so that's also how it kind of kept going. Was people
The pets was the first way that it got out, though.
The pets was the major way, yes.
You could in World of Warcraft you can dismiss your pet, and when you do that, it just sort of like goes to this like nebulous like whatever like plane of existence.
Pokeball.
Like sort of. It just like sort of ceases to exist until you call it again. So you would have your pet with you, like to carry more loot or whatever, during the raid. The raid boss would curse you and your pet, and your pet would have this affliction, and you would dismiss your pet.
Before it died.
So whether or not you completed the raid, whatever, you left the raid, you don't have this affliction anymore, you call your pet. Because of the nature of how the affliction worked, it affected everything around it and gave it the same like disease debuff.
In a similar kind of like viral way.
So entire servers like were just littered with dead players. And the actually, and this is horrifying, the way that they fixed the bug was they rolled back the servers to before the raid was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So they effectively Blizzard created an extinction event that restarted everyone at before the raid happened.
And what I find most fascinating about the whole thing is how virologists and scientists studied this event and how people reacted to it. Right? Because there were people who would go, like high-level people, who would go infect themselves who were healers, and they'd just down healing potions and infect as many people as they could. There were people selling snake oil cures. There were people selling, like in everything that people do in real life.
There were people that would
Oh.
call their pet in the middle of like a sanctuary area where people were like, okay, no one has the virus, right? And everybody was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're good. So people would go into those areas and call their pet, and everyone was infected.
And then would instantly like die. Those low-level characters, there was nothing they could do about it because this was a high-level raid. So those like level 10, level 11 characters who were kind of stuck on the server would just get insta-wiped.
And because of the way World of Warcraft progression works, as a level like 80 character, you can go to the beginning area where you first learn like how to play. So
Yeah.
people would hang out there and infect other players.
Infect these level 1s, level 2s who are just starting the game.
I do like that though, that it is studied now by virologists and scientists as to how a disease spreads.
Well, and it's not just how a disease spreads, it's also how humans, so sociologists will also use it in conjunction with
How they
virologists to see how humans react and how society collapses, doesn't collapse, how there were still healers who like desperately were trying to heal these low-level people and like keep them alive long enough for them to go take them through the raid and finish them through the raid. There were entire swaths of clerics whose entire job was they were infected already, so they just had to keep the like 12 people in the back who are the low levels who wanted the cure. That was their entire job in the raid, was to just keep people alive, including themselves. And it's bonkers.
As a healer in a raid would do anyway, but the point was to attempt
But
to
they
cure
weren't
them.
healing. They weren't healing the actual people. They were healing these people who wanted the cure.
And see, the problem with that is the raid would set you back to the beginning area where people were already infected, waiting to go into the raid to uninfect themselves.
So it was just this kind of vicious cycle of like.
It
So
was
they
just
just had to.
cyclical, and so Blizzard was like, look, we don't know what the fuck to do. So extinction event, like wipe everything post raid. Yes, cyclical. SICKLI.
So when you say everything except
It
World
was
of
so
Warcraft,
sick.
It was contagious.
Contagious. I didn't even think to bring that up when I posed the idea for this episode. I did not even think to bring up the WoW event.
that's why I'm here.
Color commentary. No.
Red.
So I think I want to say that most zombie games, like zombie-based games
Mhm.
that I've played, don't really push that like sort of apocalyptic feeling
No.
because they're always very contained. When you said like when you brought that up before we discussed the WoW event, my first thought was Dying Light, because to me that is the most like poignant, like we're stuck here, we cannot escape, there are zombies.
Yeah.
But what kills it for me is the contact with the outside world, which still exists, and the fact that it is only happening in a contained area. It's only happening in the one city, as far as you
Yeah.
know. As far as you
Right.
know, there are theories, but as far as you know, it's only happening there.
See, I think the key, and maybe this is something that the game developers of these style of games are trying to avoid, is they don't want you as the player to lose hope while you're playing these games, right?
That's true. That's true.
So they want there to be a sense of tension and a sense of like The Last of Us, right? They want that sense of tension. They want you to care about these characters, but they don't want you to give up because Ellie's been bitten, because there's like the possibility and the imminence of death.
Mm.
They want you to work through it. They want you to work through your fears of death while playing Resident Evil.
I sort of understand that.
Oh, I totally get it, and I think it's. I don't know.
I would disagree with Resident Evil because Resident Evil is too like comical to be like taken seriously. I would also disagree with like Left 4 Dead because the like
No, Left 4 Dead.
zombies are like a vehicle for the primary gameplay loop.
Yes. No, Left 4 Dead. I disagree. I don't know. Resident Evil, the newest one, I feel like kind of.
7.
Yeah.
See,
7.
and I disagree. See, and I disagree with that because it happens to one person, and it takes place on such a tiny scale that you can't apply it to like a larger sort of plot. Also, the fact that the zombies are there. They're not what the game is about. They're about the game is about these like crazy people that live in this house. It's not about the zombies. The zombies just exist in the game.
But they are the zombies. That's the thing, is that these are the sentient, but they become these like horrific creatures by studying them. Like that's kind of what the game's, in my opinion, that's what the game's about. Is more that they've become the thing that they.
Resident Evil 7.
With the
Unpopular
fungal...
opinion, I did not like Resident Evil 7. It was okay.
If we want to talk about a game about impending doom, Pikmin, the first one.
Holy shit, you're right. The Pikmin, I didn't play Pikmin 3. Full disclosure, I did not play Pikmin 3.
I haven't played Pikmin 2 or 3.
2 is more forgiving with the time limit.
There's no time limit in 2.
Well, there is a time in that the days pass. But you can go an a theoretically infinite number of days. In Pikmin 1, absolutely. Do you want to describe Pikmin?
So in Pikmin, the very first game, you have 30 days to fix your rocket and escape the poisonous atmosphere, because like you crash land on this planet.
Okay.
And you have to you get help from this local sentient race that likes to follow like their little plant cute guys.
Okay.
And the Pikmin.
They're Pikmin, yeah.
Yeah, and they will follow your lead, and you use them to fight off monsters and to carry parts of your ship back to your rocket. And you have to like at night you have to fly up into the atmosphere because otherwise you get swarmed by monsters. And like you're on this brutal planet, and it's unforgiving about its timeline. Like you have 30 days in-game time,
and certain amount, and the days pass. You can see the sun sort of like move across the screen as the day progresses. The most grating thing I've ever seen happen to someone in Pikmin is on day 30. The Pikmin are carrying the last piece of the ship towards the ship. There is nothing stopping them. They have to move slowly because whatever they're carrying is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And the day ends before they make it to the ship.
That's so infuriating.
Game over. You fucking lose. Try again.
I played it with a guide like years later. When I first started playing, I was like, oh man, this is crazy hard. But then I played it with a guide a few years ago, and it was a lot easier. I finished it in like 13 days or so of in-game time. But unforgiving.
Pikmin 2 was unforgiving in the sort of like grinding aspect you had to do, but it was very forgiving because the story, if you call it that, is that you bring like a souvenir to your son at the end of Pikmin 1, and you're like your company, your freight company or shipping company or something goes out of business while you're away, and you return and you're like, oh no. And then this machine that belongs to your company is like, oh, this souvenir you brought is worth like all this money. So your boss like restarts the company and sends you and another person back to this planet to gather these like items that are like everyday like real world items, like parts of a globe or like a shoe or I think one of them's a bottle cap or whatever, and they're all worth like a certain amount of money. And then once you amass this amount of money you need, then you are allowed to return, and the game ends. But you have infinite time to do that.
I mean, like, again, we want to talk about, like, stressful and imminent danger. Oregon Trail.
Anytime you play a first-person shooter.
Well, anytime I play a first-person shooter, yes. But Oregon Trail.
You have died of dysentery.
You've died of dysentery. Yeah, like...
I
It's very
never got
clear-
dysentery playing Oregon Trail. Like,
Really?
my characters. I, of course, never got dysentery. But my characters never got dysentery playing Oregon Trail. It never happened to me. They'd always, like, get cholera and, like, break their leg.
Yeah.
And then they would die from, like, a broken leg or something dumb. And then I was like, what the heck? Like, why can't I die of dysentery?
The Oregon Trail board game, if no one's played it, is very fun.
Board game?
Yeah, there's a card game. So
You just said a board game.
So it's a card game, board game. So it's a card game, I guess, technically.
Deck build?
No. So you set up on a table a start point and an end point. And then you have to build the path with people. And you have to make sure it lines up with the previous card. And then at the end of it, you stack them all up. And then the last road piece will connect to the first road piece. And then you have to, like, create these stacks of cards to get you from the one side of the table to the other. It's harder to explain than it is to play. It's very fun, but it still has, but, like, you can draw a card and, like, you have dysentery. Well, yeah, it's like you have dysentery. You need to, like, get this item, like, use this item to cure this. Like, I think it's probably water or something, like, or medicine. Like, you've broken an axle. Your ox got stolen. Like, and you have supply cards, and you can use the supply card. It's a very interesting game, and I really think more people should play it. I think it's very fun. Yeah, and then there's, like, a side hunting game, so you can play the hunting game just on the table with cards. It's very fun.
So there's a mini game inside of the actual game?
But it's also a separate game that you can play on your own and just see who scores the most points.
Oh, so it's like Resident Evil 4, the case organization game with the zombie shooting minigame.
Yes, sure.
I understand. Okay.
We've talked a lot about realism-ish, like things that mimic awfulness going on in the world. What are some good escapist media? What's some good escapist media to consume?
I think in the same boat, Stardew Valley and Minecraft are like that tranquil.
I wouldn't put them in the. Okay, here's why I don't put them in the same category. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, does Stardew Valley have a definite end?
Yeah.
Sort. Yeah.
But so does Minecraft, right? Like, you fight the Ender Dragon, and, like, that's kind of the end. Yeah.
Okay. No. Okay. I see the case you're making.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be right back. Continue to play.
Okay. No.
Continue to talk.
I see. So that in terms of, like, the tranquility and, like, the game is like you use it as an escape from reality.
Mm-hmm.
But along that same vein, I would put, like, an MMO or, like, Skyrim, or The Witcher is a good example because it's long, but it's a bad example because it does have a definite end, and you can't, like, you don't, like, continue after that. Skyrim, in theory, never ends. If you complete every single quest in the game, there will still be characters that, like, have you go to locations and, like, retrieve items, and those are the only quests that are left. But with that caveat, that small young caveat, the game does not the game does not actually have an ending. And I have to put this on sort of my list just to tout its greatness once more. Age of Empires, specifically Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition, because of the infinite ways that you could play the game.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
There are a set number of specific seeds for maps, but there are so many different kinds of maps and so many different civilizations that it would take you longer than a lifetime to play every single civilization on every single seed.
It's
on
the
every single
permutations,
map
yeah.
type.
Yeah, it's the permutations, yeah. Yeah, I get that.
I'm actually more in the boat of I want stuff that has, and I don't know if this is just, with people having work being such a big part of life and everything, of, having a definite beginning and end to certain activities. I don't know that I want to do something that I could just do forever. Like, I would want, if I was playing Minecraft, I would want to have a goal in mind. Like, hey, I want to build this thing in Minecraft, and then spend, the amount of time to do that.
Well, I understand what you were saying. You're missing the point of the question. And the point of the question is, what do you do? What media is good to consume
For that
after or
purpose.
during an apocalypse event? So the purpose, why you are consuming this media, is that it does not have an end. So we know who would go crazy. Now we know which host would go crazy first during an actual apocalyptic event. And it would be Jacob.
Well, there would be just, like... See, the thing that I don't like... Okay, have you seen the music video for the song Shelter by, like, Medion and Porter Robinson?
That was a very specific question, and did you actually think either of us were going to answer with a yes?
Okay, everyone should watch it. You should watch it after this. Because I don't want to... Shoot, now I don't want to spoil anything, but maybe I just have to. It's a beautiful music video, regardless of if you know the ending.
Well, as Brenna and I cannot pause, everyone else can pause and go and watch the video and come back.
Okay.
Explain.
So in that, there's an apocalypse event. This guy, kind of like Superman, this guy sends his daughter in a rocket away from the planet because it's going to blow up. And the music video is about her in this virtual reality where she can do anything. She can do literally anything that she wants, like in this virtual reality. But in real life, she is trapped in this rocket in space, and like her muscles are all atrophying because she can't move or do anything. And that's kind of how I would feel with just like escapism forever. If
that happens in Fallout, this is what that immediately reminds me of. In Fallout 3 and in Fallout New Vegas, that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That happens. In Fallout 3, there's a vault that you have to go to, required as part of the story. You have to go to this vault and enter a virtual simulation that these people are living in and have been living in for like 100 some years. And there's this like psychologist that's just like fucking with them.
Yeah.
And there's like this wildly specific like thing that you have to do if your like speech skill, I think, isn't high enough to convince the scientists to let everyone out. Yeah. There's like this set of wildly specific things that you can do to escape the reality or to cause it to fail.
Mm-hmm.
In Fallout New Vegas, this is ruining a huge plot point of Fallout New Vegas. And if you haven't played it yet, you're late as shit. So I'm not worried about spoiling it. In Fallout New Vegas, Mr. House has been living like as a computer for the entire like apocalypse. Mm-hmm. And you can go into his like little bunker and like free him kind of, but he's like this shriveled up like corpse looking like skeleton, and if you leave him out of his little chamber that's been keeping him alive, he'll die. Or you don't have time for that shit and you bring him out and then you shoot him in the face and he dies from that as well.
So, that's so as far as like escape.
That's what that reminds me of. I had to point that out.
I guess this is more about just media in general, even if it's escapism, even if it's something you're doing to pass the time, or not worry about things that you worry about normally. I like things to have an end somewhere, because if they don't have an end, that fact will hit me eventually, and it's scary. Like, it's
What do you mean?
so like just contemplating forever isn't my cup of tea. Always.
Oh, like eternity, like the idea of eternity. No, I know exactly what you're feeling about, because that's the type of thing that's in the back of my mind at 3 a.m, and it comes to the front of my mind, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah. So
no, I know exactly what you were talking
there
about.
There are good things to that, like being married to my wife. Like, that's great. Like, that's a fun eternity to contemplate. Being like trapped playing Minecraft forever. No, that's not an eternity I want to contemplate.
But see, you're not trapped though. You decide. That's the escapism part. Is you are deciding to play Minecraft. You can stop playing Minecraft at any time.
But I think
I
think what he's saying though is like, and I understand this too. It's part of why I don't like Minecraft. Is it's not necessarily the choice of stopping; it's the feeling of accomplishment of completing a task.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like you're never
don't
really
like Minecraft.
Done. Yeah, that's why I don't like Minecraft. It says there's no tasks to complete. Like, there is, but there's not. But there is, but there's not. It's not like
yourself up. I like the way that Zero Punctuation puts it. And if you've not watched Zero Punctuation, you gotta watch Zero Punctuation, because Yahtzee is fucking hilarious. It's from the Escapist magazine. It's on YouTube. That's on the Escapist website. It's great. But I like the way Yahtzee puts Minecraft, and that you have to give yourself a project. Minecraft is like a model railway set. Something that you are super invested in, that bores to tears everyone around you, except one person one day is going to be like, that's pretty cool. And you're going to be like,
see, that's not
everything was worth it.
That's just not my thing. Like, I'm not into city builders. I'm not into things like Factorio. I just, like, those things kind of, like, give me anxiety, because it's like I just don't know where to start or where to begin or where to, like...
It's
like,
it's so large and so open-ended.
It's so overwhelming. And then you can say, like, but then you just have to do, like, one task. And it's like, yeah,
and
but I don't know which...
turns into 300 tasks. Okay.
Right.
No.
I don't know which task to do first. Like, what's more important, getting rock first or iron first? Like,
rock.
It's stuff like that. Like, I'd much rather play something like Stardew Valley that's like, okay, this is a farming simulator. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go buy all these fucking parsnips, you're gonna plant them, and you're gonna wait like 6 days. And hey, while you're waiting, go to the mine. Just go hang out in the mine. Go do that.
This is why, and to connect it to sort of now, and what I've been doing in between playing Doom Eternal, which is surprisingly short, despite being called Doom Eternal. But Animal Crossing, it's the daily life. It's exactly. And Harvest Moon is like this, and Stardew Valley is like this, in that it's the routine. You wake up in the morning, you go
check parsnip prices.
Fossils. You go and dig up fossils. You take them to the museum. You donate them to the museum. Then you go fishing. Then you plant some flowers. Then you build some furniture for your neighbor who needs new furniture.
When you
then you make pleasantries with your island, like, natives.
This sounds very much like the it sounds very much like you're like a very old person in like a Japanese society. Because they have this idea of like everything's kind of like you live your day, even if you don't have anything to do, you find things to do, and like even if your important
that's-
task of the
That's
day.
the point of Animal Crossing. Is
Yeah.
there are things that you can accomplish, like getting a bigger house or
Yes.
whatever, but nothing is pushing you to do that. There's
Right.
no like you need this now, like you need
No,
to
but-
accomplish this task to proceed.
But in your brain, you're like, oh, it'd be nice if I had a bigger house. Or like, hey, I finally have enough bells to do that.
Exactly.
And maybe that's just the kind of game I enjoy.
Yeah,
Is the lazy like this is my routine, and it's less stressful than your actual life because you don't have a job and you don't have bills to pay and you don't have to do this and
Well,
you
you
don't
do
have
have-
to do that
you
and
do
then you
have
get to
loans.
eat for 6 hours. What?
You do have loans. That is important. In
Well,
Animal
yes,
Crossing, you do
we know
have
that
loans.
Tom Nook is part of the Animal Crossing mafia,
But
but he's very forgiving.
I kind of feel that way about like Fallout though too. Like Fallout doesn't have like you can kind of go about the tasks in whatever like aside from the main story, there's like a bunch of side quests you can just kind of do. Maybe that's how I play Fallout.
I mean, Skyrim is all. That's also Skyrim minus
It's also
the
Skyrim, yeah.
guns.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remembered something. So
Just one thing?
yes, just one thing that I
A single thing.
So for the same reason of like, oh no, there's an eternity and there's
Oh, no.
infinity. That's the reason I get burnt out on Magic sometimes is because I love deck building, but when I realize that I can do literally anything and could spend my entire life building different things,
Yeah.
kind of like, like
That's why I always just try to find like a card type I like or like a concept that I'm very into. Like
specificity.
yeah, when you start narrowing yourself in Infinity, it makes things easier to kind of swallow.
This has become an interestingly philosophical episode of the Dr. Z Show.
I mean, we are talking about the imminent death of the human race. That's fine.
Got nothing better to do.
Yeah, we're locked up in either our house or not our house. And
Isn't that always true, though?
It's
so
a
sometimes you're not locked up.
If you're outside, you don't
I guess
like
you
any house.
could be locked up outside.
But you're locked. You could be locked. Like, what is a house, though? You could use house very
No.
broadly to define, like, the earth.
No,
the-
why
the-
would you do that?
No, I'm trying to ruin it. Let me have this.
You're
You know what I
succeeding
mean.
in ruining it. So
You know what I mean, though.
I don't know what you mean.
You are
My-
always locked up, whether you are in your house or not. You're
See,
stuck
but you're
on
not always
Earth,
locked
or
up.
you're stuck on Earth and the Moon, or Earth and the Moon, and if Elon Musk has his way
Whatever.
on Mars, or in the galaxy,
No,
or in
no.
the universe.
Hey, Anthony, you're
You
going
are
too
stuck.
big. You're going too big. Your brain, which is you, is trapped in your body at all times.
No, guys, come on.
Oh, why
We're
have I
all locked in the
forgotten?
Matrix.
Spore.
Spore.
Once you get to galaxy stage, it's literally infinite. Well, I mean, it goes until your computer runs out of memory, but in theory, it's infinite. Spore.
Plague Inc. It has an end goal, but you can at least simulate the death of the human race.
Never played Plague Inc.
Dab Boy has officially wiped out all traces of the human race. That's why I always name my. That's why I always name my disease Dab Boy. Dab Boy has successfully eliminated all life on Earth.
I named mine Beefy Cat, which is a really specific joke that I have with my Kentucky friends.
That makes it sound like you. Never mind.
Kentucky Friend Chicken.
Jacob, you're not allowed to speak anymore. Have you ever gotten the Russians and the Americans into nuclear war on Plague Inc?
I have.
It's
Yes.
very it's very specific.
It's very specific.
But
It takes
it's
a
very funny
yes.
if you can get it to work.
I just realized that a plague would be a really good third plot arc for my D&D campaign. Because I didn't know what was going to happen after the first two major plot events.
We had a plague in our D&D game. But that's because our druid of Obad High decided to cut up and dismember a goblin and throw those goblin pieces at its friends to try and scare the goblin pieces, and Obad High is like, what? No. Don't do that.
See, I don't have to have a plague in my D&D campaign because the plague of my D&D campaign is the party of murder hobos that run through the D&D campaign. That's the plague.
That's punish them for being murder hobos.
Oh, they're being punished. No, they're being punished. Don't worry about that. If you're listening to this, you are being punished. You know who you are. I know you watch the show. You're being punished.
So, I feel like we've neglected movies in this escapism, and the best,
Oh, that's true.
the
You can watch
best,
What did you say?
all, you can watch fun stuff. You can watch all of the Marvel films.
See, but that takes a shockingly takes up a shockingly small amount of time in contrast to watching like all of One Piece.
Well, yeah, but I'm
Which,
saying these
for
are things
reference,
you
for
can
those
do.
who do not know about One Piece, it is the scientific term is long as fuck.
Are they past without? They're past 1,000, right?
I believe so.
I
Jacob
think
was gonna
they
look it up.
are. Yes, Jacob is the researcher this episode.
924.
Oh, they're so close. You
And
can
about
watch.
500 of those are filler.
Oh wow, you're being kind and saying only 500 are filler. From what I've heard, it's like 700.
You can watch all of Naruto. Naruto
could-
is also long as fuck. It is not as long as One Piece, but it is quite long.
You could watch all of Supernatural.
Why would you want to, though?
I don't know, because you've already invested 9.5 seasons and you've been meaning to get back around to it. Not that I know anything about
was
that.
a point. That was a point that was brought up in the list of questions. Is
Correct.
you could do things that you've been putting off or that are lower on your priority list because you have infinite time. So, like, the example I gave was watch the Parasite movie. I understand that the movie is very good. I understand the movie is very interesting. I understand the movie is very thought-provoking. I am interested in watching the movie, but it is so low on my priority list, and things come up that are higher on my priority list that I might not ever watch the movie.
Yeah.
But if I have, to scare Jacob, infinite time, I could watch the Parasite movie.
Maybe I'll finally finish An Infinite Jest. The book. An Infinite
I was
Jest.
like, what?
It's 1,065 pages long?
It's not infinity pages long.
No. No, it's already too long. It's so long. And it's so yeah, David Foster Wallace is so dead. And it's tragic that he is dead because he committed suicide, but like
But apparently he was also a bit of a piece of crap.
yeah.
He was also what?
Kind of a piece of shit.
Like
as a human.
Like in the sexually assaulting people type way.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I thought you meant like part of him was literally a piece of shit. Like
No.
I mean, that's part
Like an immoral piece of shit.
morally bankrupt.
Correct.
My favorite. Not actually, but
Yeah.
So what are you going to tell us about this book? I
Gotta
can't
be
read.
honest, I'm only like 100 pages in and I still don't know what it's about. Um,
That's how I felt about the
Really?
Silmarillion. I got the 15 pages in the Silmarillion and I was like, this is not interesting to me.
I have a friend who's read the Silmarillion 8 times. It's too many times. I've told him it's too many times. It's too many
You have
times.
a problem.
And it's boring as fuck. Holy shit, that book is boring as fuck. And so is the movie. It's
What?
about Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. Agony and the Ecstasy.
Okay.
It's about
Infinite
painting
Jest.
Yeah.
An Infinite Jest. So what I think it's about is this family. One of them is a child tennis prodigy or something, and then the other is like a drug addict of some kind. And there's something else. There's like another plot
And
thing.
they're both Tyler Durden.
No, it's like I don't know.
We should make up what this book is
look,
about
I-
based on that information alone.
I know what the book's about, guys.
Here we
Yeah?
go.
The very last page has a punchline. to the
JK.
rest of the book. The
Yeah.
rest of the book is just a very, very long setup for that punchline.
Yeah.
It's a Shaggy Dog joke.
Shaggy dog joke.
What's the punchline?
To go back to the beginning of the book. Did you miss that?
I must have.
Yeah.
You just read it over and over again.
That's why it's the Infinite Jest.
You're in an infinite loop.
It's like the it's like
On
the
every
knocking-
copy of the book, there's glue that's activated by the oils in your hands, so you can never physically put the book down.
I haven't gotten to that part of the book yet.
You haven't held it long enough.
I haven't. No, I don't know. I held it for a really long
I have-
time. I did that thing. Have you ever been reading a book and then you just
No.
like are holding
I
it?
can't read. We've been through this.
Well, Jacob, you can
That's why
attest to
we
this.
look up the stuff during the show.
Yeah, this is why. Yeah, hint to the viewers. The reason why Jacob and I did
Now
all
we've
the
reached
research,
the roast part of the Dr. Z show.
we didn't start with it this time.
True.
Actually, we did self roasts at the very beginning.
We did do self roast at the very beginning. Yeah, we did talk about our terrible movies. But have you ever been like reading a book and you just sit there for a really long time and you read the same page because you're like, God, I don't even know what's happening. Why is this? Man, why am I reading these words? I don't know how to read these words. I do know how to read these words, but I don't know how to read these words because they're just not sticking in my brain.
Yes.
I did that about
Honestly,
6 times.
I can honestly say I have not done that.
It's because you don't read.
Well, yes, but you get credit for trying.
I saw a meme that was like, I saw half-orc clerics be like, I didn't think you could read. It's the Bible. You get credit for trying.
And what is that a reference to?
Pirates of the Caribbean. One of them.
Which did we talk about it on record,
Yes.
or did you just
Yeah,
bring it
we
up
did.
off record? Okay, so we're back to the beginning. Now we watched the entire show over to get to this point.
Yeah. So it's
When
much
will
like
then
Infinite
be
Jest.
now?
It was a coda.
This whole episode is just codas after codas.
When will then be now? Now. Now? Is it then? No, it's now.
Actually, going back to not being able to read in Naruto, there's in one of the arcs, there's an exam for them to rank up as ninja, and one of the parts of the exam is this impossible test that no one knows the answers to, and they're told that if they're found cheating, they'll be disqualified. But the test is so impossible that they have to cheat to do well on it.
So if they're
and
found cheating, they'll be disqualified. But they
Yeah.
have to cheat.
but they're not.
That's
yeah,
the
not
point.
told to cheat, but
So they're
cheating is the way to succeed.
so it's
Uh,
part of their ninja training.
Yeah,
Just to be like, how sneaky can you be?
yeah, and there's two people who are
That's the voice that they use also.
How sneaky can you be?
um so I was just imagining like Count Chocula or the Count from Sesame Street as a ninja.
One
When she used that voice, I was
too
like,
sneak.
why?
One, two, sneaky.
all I think about when I think about Count Chocula, or not Count Chocula, the Count is
The Count.
the video where they
Censored the
bleep
word
out
count.
the Count. Yeah. So good.
So two of the people in there are like they're plants, and they're people that are actually writing down the correct answers to everything, so that there's.
Oh, I thought you meant that they were like knowing Naruto and how fucking weird it is. I thought you meant they were actually.
Yeah, one's a fern,
wait,
and the
that's
other's
different.
a
That's
hydrangea.
later in the series.
That's
so-
some like Yu Yu Hakusho stuff too.
Yeah, it is.
From
So-
what I know about Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay, so they're plants. They
yeah.
have the correct answers.
The not reading thing though is that Naruto doesn't get it. Like he doesn't understand that he's supposed to cheat. And he doesn't know any of the answers to anything because it's this crazy hard test, and he's like the lovable idiot, like strong-headed main character. And
Believe.
he just stands up like during the test,
And he's
and
like,
is-
this test is bullshit.
basically he's like I don't care about this test, like I'm gonna pass because I'm awesome, and like I'll show you all someday.
Accidentally
and-
writes all the correct answers.
and then everyone hands in their tests at the end, and the teacher looks at it and like he's like, he didn't write anything on this.
So are you saying that Naruto can't read?
I'm saying that he can't pass like a test that was designed to be impossible, but the point is like he didn't write anything, and the test was supposed to like cow everyone out of, the people who stayed, even if they weren't stealthy about it, like the people who, like, because everyone else who was like, oh, like either got caught cheating, or got scared because they're like, there's no way I'll ever pass this, and just decided to get up and leave. Like
So-
they all were the real people who were disqualified, but Naruto just stuck it out, even though he didn't answer anything on the test.
This is why I don't watch anime. This right here. That reason. That's why I don't watch anime.
I tried it in one of my classes, and they weren't too happy.
Yeah, I can imagine
This
that.
test is bullshit.
I'll be the next dean of this college.
Oh no.
Believe it.
Believe it. I'm gonna be the next Hokage.
Oh god.
Any final thoughts about?
Any prediction events for what's going to be the extinction event? In how many days are in March? In
April.
well, no, yeah. What in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days? What's going to be the extinction event in the next 5 days?
It's
I don't
not
know, man.
Cascade, like volcano blowing up. Like if Mount Rainier goes, that's not good. That's not good.
Look, I'm just living day to day using Governor Andy Bashir's fireside chats to get me through the day. Andy Bashir memes for social distancing teens. There was literally an article written about him in which the title is, and excuse me for saying these words, "Govern me, Daddy."
Oh.
There's an actual article written about Governor Andy Bashir in which the title of it is "Govern Me, Daddy." And I could purchase, if I so chose to, from KentuckyForKentucky.com, a Govern Me, Daddy t-shirt.
I am kink shaming.
No, I'm not going to because I'm a sensible, reasonable human being.
Until you get drunk and buy it with your friends.
Until you ironically buy it while drinking with your friends.
This is
The
the worst. This is the worst thing that we have ever brought up on the Dr. Z show.
Hey, I did it.
This is nothing
Update the
has been
wiki.
worse.
Update the
Which we
wiki.
couldn't publish. Fun fact, the wiki never got published because it sounded too much like a promotion
Oh.
for the Dr. Z show. So we could not publish our episodes or what the show is about on Wikipedia.
Hmm.
So if anybody can write a Wikipedia article better than the one that we already have.
I mean, I got time.
So. Yeah, we all got fucking all
time.
forever now to do that, so we'll get on it. Except we won't. We'll say it's something we're gonna do, and we just fucking won't do it.
Yeah. Oh my god. So to end on, we got Chinese.
Yeah,
shooters.
we gotta end on a note that's better than literally the worst thing we've ever talked about.
We got Chinese food the other day, and my fortune cookie said, "Be willing to put off, or be willing. Oh, anything that you've put off, you must be willing to die knowing that you didn't do it." And I was like, "This is the wrong time to get a fortune like this."
Holy shit!
Yeah, right. It's like it's like a threat.
Holy shit! Like, that's what your fortune actually said?
Yes, I think it might still be sitting on the couch over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, like be okay with the things that you're putting off that you're willing to die and having never done or something. Like it was incredibly not appropriate for this day and age.
Alright, so what are you willing to die for that you have put off? What are you willing to know when you have died that you put that off? for
Put that
so
in the
long
comments below.
died? Let
We'd
us
love
know
to
in
hear.
the comments. Honestly, I do kind of actually want to know people's answers to that.
Like, what's the thing? I mean, mine has never watched Breaking Bad. Gotta be honest. I just don't care.
What's yours, Jacob?
Things that I've put off. I mean, I haven't finished Return of the King. I read the first 100 pages of it, and I might be okay with never finishing it.
You might be.
Uh,
Okay.
I have to finish the Harry
You
Potter
think that there's a
series.
possibility that you could be dying or like on your deathbed and be like, man, I really should have finished that book.
Like, Return of the King.
Those are his final words.
And then everyone's like, is that like an omen? Like, is that a prophecy? Is he actually like
Is
the
it a
next
threat?
great prophet?
And-
Abby, do you want to chime in?
What do you want to?
To die having never completed.
But it has to be something that you're meaning to do because you can't put off things that you're not going to do anyway.
Right.
Reading Jane Eyre, I know
Mm,
should.
that's valid.
but like, if it never happened, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
There's
I-
so many possibilities.
I didn't.
I read Great Expectations.
Oh, I've never read that, and I don't need to.
It's actually, I like everyone except the main character.
Those are the worst books. So when you like have to follow the main character around and you're just like, God, I want to punch you. Yeah.
Isn't that the plot of the Artemis Fowl books?
Yeah, that's why I didn't read them.
I like Artemis Fowl.
I get why
See-
people liked Artemis Fowl.
See, I don't know if I can answer this question because there's so many things that I'm just like,
Ooh, here's the ultimate callback. Next episode, we'll start with just whatever it is. You'll start the episode with like, you know, like,
by doing this, like,
no, you'll say whatever it is. So like, make lasagna. Welcome back to the Dr. Z show.
I literally made lasagna on Monday.
It was the first thing I thought
Get out of
of,
my face.
okay?
You are a racist.
Your family makes lasagna on the
Like,
reg.
so regularly.
You are also a racist. You're all racist.
How dare
This
you?
has
insult
been-
something I
This
actually-
has been an episode of the Dr. Z Show. Have a nice apocalypse. We will see you.
Next week, maybe?
If we're still alive, then.
I mean, hopefully.